people always ask me is, where do you get good hair from in terms of top quality hair, hair that you know is coming from a really good source? And that's what I want to teach you guys today, a little bit about where you need to go so that you are not wasting your money, so to speak. I know I had these questions when I wanted to really scale my hair business and I wanted to go directly to the source. I didn't want to get from anyone in between. So I said, hey, I have to do the research and I have to go to real factories. We have to inspect these factories, make sure that they are following a good code of ethics. Remember, we talked about business ethics 101 2 videos ago. And also, it gives you a good chance to meet the owner of the factory, put in some rapport, because especially when you're dealing with a lot of Asian, especially Chinese, relationships trump everything. So it's always good to be a familial face and to just get something started, something going. So let's talk about hair hubs. So many of you probably already know that almost 100% of the hair that's on the market is sourced from Southeast Asia. What are the countries of Southeast Asia? If you were to Google this on a map, you would see some parts of China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, aka Burma, Bangladesh, India, some parts of Korea, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe some parts of Japan. But some of those islands and parts of those countries might technically be Polynesia. So, best bet, definitely Google this information. This information is free. It's out on the World Wide Web. I'm just specifying a little bit more to help you tailor your hair finds. So, I lived in China for 5 years, so I really needed to know where this hair was coming from. Um, I lived in Guangzhou. The good thing about Guangzhou is the port city. Everyone comes to Guangzhou to do business, so it's easy to find hair there, but you want to track it. You want to say, hey, let's go to the factory because why? The factory has the supply. The factory has the supply that can meet the demands. Right now, there's a hair shortage. Believe it or not, there's a hair shortage. There's also a trade war going on between the US and China since 2018. There have been recent updates with some hair imports being stopped and either taken or sent back to wherever it came from because there have been allegations that hair is coming from xenophobic anti-Chinese Muslim concentration camp in Xinjiang, China. So for these reasons, a lot of people have, spoken up about where hair is coming from, how it's coming, is it being ethically sourced, and many people are feeling this backlash, whether they're involved in something unethical or not. So it's very good to do your own paper trail, be in the right with stand-up companies. One, because they can meet they can supply the demand, and two, you'll get a better deal working with the factory. They set the price, so you can bargain with them for a certain price for a certain amount that you buy. So without further ado, let's start with China, okay? What I do well with is charts, maps. I'm such a visual learner. So when I was like, I need to do my research on my business plan, I wrote out the places in China that I would find here. So this is, a little map that I, made for myself just to make sure that I was on track with my business. And I actually want to put your attention here. I have some of these hubs in China. First is Suchang. Um, Suchang is a huge area in China where you'll find a lot of hair factories and hair manufacturers. Let's look up Suchang right now. Xuchang. Okay, Suchang is a city that is in the province of Henan, Henan. So if you were to fly to Suchang, what I would do is I would first get on Alibaba, I would look up manufacturers and ask them for their addresses, and then set your dates in terms of, okay, I want to be at this factory this time, and then from here I'm going to go to the next factory. um, there's a lot that goes in between there in terms of getting a taxi, but a lot of times people are accommodating. So the second place you can go to China, huge hair hub in China to get hair, is Hangzhou. 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 Let's look that up. Okay. So it says that it's the capital of the city of Zhejiang. Okay. Hangzhou is another area in China that you can go and find hair. It's a hair hub. A lot of times, um, for what it's worth on an educational tip, China has done a lot to really care about the environment. They've stopped taking other countries' trash to recycle. Even though they make 80% of the world's products, they said, hey, you guys take care of your own trash, we're going to take care of ours. So, a reason for these hubs is because certain manufacturers, certain industries are only allowed to manufacture in certain places just to keep the pollution down to a certain extent. If you didn't know, the hair industry uses a lot of water. A lot of water. And so, for a factory that is supplying 1 ton of hair a month, okay, a ton is 2,000 pounds. So that's a lot of water used to wash the hair, cleanse it, and also to color the hair, dye the hair, rinse it out, steam the hair into all of these different curl patterns. That's a lot. And so what I noticed is that a lot of the hair factories that I visited in Suchang, for instance, or Hangzhou, they're closer to the water because they need that water supply. And then I also got to see that these factories have to clean up after themselves. It's the law, and they have these water recycling machines that basically recycle the water that they just use in order to cleanse and steam and color their hair. So I thought that was quite interesting. These machines were upwards of like $1 million, and I thought that was pretty cool. You know, one, you're following an ethical um, zone, you are producing hair in a certain place, and then on top of that, you are cleaning up after yourself. So these are the reasons why, in China at least, these hair factories are going to be in these places. And when you do go to these cities, there are going to be about 100 of them because they produce so much. They produce so much. One factory is producing 1 ton, and there's a hair scarcity. So think about how big the demand is that they need to supply. Okay? The next hub is Ningbo. Ningbo. Ninbo. Okay? It's also in Zhejiang province. So Zhejiang province is pretty big when it comes to hair. Also know that Zhejiang province is a hub for hair tools. I guess it just goes together. So that's another city that's in China that is a hub. A hub is like a mecca. If you come here, you're looking for the hair, it's going to be there. And honestly, if I were to come to Guangzhou or come to China as a businesswoman, a trader, someone who wanted to buy, resell, or manufacture, I would stop in Guangzhou just to see what the possibilities are because a lot of these factories have their storefronts in Guangzhou, and that's why a lot of people do go to Guangzhou. It's almost like a one stop shop for everything. You can get your packaging, you can get, you can talk to the manufacturer's representative. But it's very helpful and very eye-opening if you do visit the factory. So no matter what industry you're in, find out where the hubs of the factories are and go there, because if you go to a place where a lot of people are selling the same things, that means that there's competition. So the price is going to be at, I can't even say market value. I will say factory value, which is lower than the market. So just an extra tip. Then lastly, there is Qingdao. Qingdao is a major sub-city in Shandong province. I've actually visited Qingdao several times and it's very beautiful. Um, it's actually one of my favorite um, Chinese beers, Qingdao, but it's also right by the water, and so I learned about why these hair companies are located by the water when I visited Qingdao. But pretty much it happened like this: I searched on Alibaba, I got names, addresses, contacts, and they let me know what area they were in, what hotels were close, were safe. Um, and I did my own research. And at this point, I have been living in China for a while. So, you know, I felt safe enough to go. And with the level of Chinese that I do have, speaking Chinese, I knew that I would be okay and safe. But generally, China is pretty safe. At the end of the day, a lot of these manufacturers do want your business, so they're not going to sabotage that. Especially if you're coming all the way around the world, they're going to think this person is serious and they're really going to go all out for you. You let them know what hotel you're staying when you get there. They will pick you up in a service car. You will drink tea with the factory owner, and he or she will take you out to lunch or to dinner. And that's all the good stuff. You want to build your relationship with them, and you want to secure that so that when you do go back to wherever you're going to, you have a good relationship with them moving forward and they don't cheat you now that you need them to drop ship. Um, so relationships go so far in China. So those are the four in China. We'll move on to the next country. But again, there's Qingdao, Ningbo, Hangzhou, and Zhuchang. Okay, four main hubs in China. Next is India. India. And a lot of most of the manufacturers are in South India in the city of Chennai. Okay, now if you were to look at a map of India, you will see that southern India is not far from Thailand, is not far from Malaysia, Singapore. These are the Southeast Asian countries that I'm talking about. And when you start looking at these countries and the actual ethnicity and the characteristics of the hair, you will see that they are similar. Um, so Chennai, Chenai, in southern India is where you would want to go in terms of a hair hub, in terms of factory after factory. Depends on what you're looking for, what type of hair. I mean, some people get hair from um, actual women who negotiate. Some of them get hair from the temples. Um, this hair is gotten from someone who's collecting from the temple, but hey, whatever floats your boat, the hair is coming from Chennai. Now, I would meet a lot of Indian hair manufacturers, a lot of people from Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia in China because China produces the most hair. China has the manpower, China has the factory capacity, and they make so many things. Um, when when I visited the Philippines, and we'll get to the Philippines next. When I visited the Philippines and spoke to a factory owner there, she let me know that, of course, her hair is Filipino hair, but a lot of the materials are cheaper for her to make in China. So she would send her hair to China um, and get it done there. In terms of the quality of the lace, um, fusion, micro links, micro loop hair, tape in. This is just done at a much better quality and efficiency in China. Again, the cost of labor is a lot lower and the manpower is there. So, if you were to get these things done in India or in the Philippines, it might cost a little bit more because they're not working in terms of the same pay and the same capacity, factory capacity as in China. So that's, another tip, just kind of knowing and understanding the breakdown in finances and where to spend your money, how to spend your money, what would work best. Um, when I source raw hair with it just being the bulk hair, I might get it from another country or um, go through someone in China who's getting it from another country, even though the final product will be produced in China, if that makes sense. Because I might want Indian hair because Indian hair has a certain type of curl that maybe Chinese hair ethnically does not have. And vice versa. You can switch it out with other countries. So it is important to know the characteristics of your hair, ethnicities, all of that because it's important. Okay, so next after that is the Philippines. The Philippines. So where in the Philippines is this hair sourced? You're going to be looking for the city of Laguna. 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 Laguna is a suburb of what's the capital of the Philippines? I was just there. Let's see. Manila, Manila, okay? So Manila is super busy, full of people. I mean, it's your typical Shanghai, your typical Bangkok, your typical Mumbai. It's just a super busy city. So when I got in contact with my hair factories there, I was surprised that they were in Laguna. And again, they are sectioned in a place away from the big city so that they can do what they need to do ethically, safely. So, traveling from Laguna to Manila was quite far, about an hour and a half. And traffic in Manila is crazy, especially since that's where the airport is. So if you are flying, you will fly into Manila. And then I would say maybe, if you've never been to Manila before and you want to experience Manila, experience it, stay in a hotel. Hi, Daniel. What's up, brother? Stay in a hotel that's in that area. But when it's time to do your factory tours, stay in Laguna or stay somewhere in Manila that's close to Laguna because that traffic is going to eat up a lot of your time. And you want to hit the ground running. You want to be ready to negotiate. You don't want to be tired. You don't want to be, God forbid, sick, if this is your first time traveling in Asia and, you know, going around not really knowing what food, and then there are a lot of factors that can interfere with just a regular business trip. So familiarize yourself, talk to some people. It's hot. It is hot. Daniel says he's cooking in the heat in Texas. It's hot. Um, so you definitely want to familiarize yourself, but my best bet is to stay somewhere that's a little bit close. The same when I was in Qingdao. The airport from Qingdao to the sub cities where the factories were was an hour out. So it's like if you want to go into your hotel, then come back out, that's a lot of traveling, and you might cut down your trip time by a lot. So it really just depends on you. Try to map it out. If you have questions, definitely hit me up. I'm always like just helping advise people on how to best take their travel, their trip, especially when they're doing factory visits. And another thing, the competition is steep and it's fierce. And so one company may pick you up, but they want you to stay. They're not going to want you to see any other companies. So some people like to lollygag. Some people do want to spend more time taking you to lunch, taking you to dinner, all that stuff. And it's like, nah, bruh, you got to drop me back off at my hotel, okay? So the next person can pick me up. Or can you drop me off at so and so factory? I've done that plenty of times because what? We will not waste time, okay? So just be mindful of that, you know, really map it out because a lot of times you're thinking, oh, it's not that big, but the traffic is crazy. So many people live in these cities and so many people are commuting in and out. So I didn't know that going to Laguna my first time. And I just was able day one to see only two factories. And by the time I saw the second factory, it was like almost shut down time. The parts that I could have seen, the lady was like, oh, well, some of these people have gone home. There's really nothing to show you. So I kind of felt like, man. And I ended up having to take two more trips out to Laguna during one whole trip in the Philippines, which I didn't plan on doing, but I knew that I didn't see enough. And of course, you have to add that to your expenses if you're doing more flying. You know, flights, hotel, food. But generally, food is pretty inexpensive. Hotels, I mean, it's the same as everywhere. You have your high end, you have your low ends. So it really depends on your budget. But just don't waste your time because you want to see a lot. You want to know who has what to offer and for what price. So just make sure you're moving swiftly. Okay, the next place is Bangladesh. Um, Bangladesh has done a lot in the last few years in order to amp up its trade and its just international relations when it comes to business. So they have invited so many people to build factories there and to rent factories, work with them. I've seen some of the documents and the legislation, and you know, it seems very, very healthy. You know, it definitely is something that I'm looking into in terms of having a place to fully produce the hair that I source. That's my own, and I know exactly what's going on, who's coming in, who's coming out. So they have certain zones set up in order to conduct business. So in the hair business, a lot of people are in Dhaka. That's Dhaka in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh hair is a little bit similar to Indian hair. They have straight hair, they have curly hair, it's very dark, and it's a little bit thicker, shinier. So you're going to be looking into that area. Vietnam, um, is a newer hub. I would say a lot of people um, really go into those villages and they source the hair and take it to their companies. But there are some Vietnamese hair factories. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at the map right now. And I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly. Hanoi. Of course, I'm going to say it correctly. Okay. Hanoi. Hanoi is one human hair hub of Vietnam, but Vietnam is not a top hair place as of now. Just like the Philippines, people do get hair from there, but it's up and coming. So I would think that there will be other places in Vietnam that are smaller where people are getting hair and then they're taking it to Hanoi. I have not visited any of the hair factories in Vietnam. I visited Vietnam, but it was just more for a pleasure trip. And I didn't get a lot of business done in terms of visiting a hair factory, but I do know of some hair factories there. And again, living in China, that's like the ultimate hub when it comes to doing trade and business. So a lot of these people come to China for other different raw materials and supplies. So I have definitely met a lot of Vietnamese hair owners. Some of them have come to Canton Fair. Some of them have come to the International Hair Fair, which is also hosted in Guangzhou, China. So Guangzhou, China, even though it's not a hair hub, it's a great place for you to learn and visit some hair factories, hair and beauty industry factories as well. And then we have Cambodia. Cambodia. I know Cambodia is very famous for their sea wave. I think they have like a small S curl type of wave. And let's see if we can map this out. You know, sometimes it's as simple as that. You map it out and you contact these factories, see when they're open, see when they're able to host you. And that's all you have to do. Now, let's see. Cambodian hair factory. Okay, Angkor, Angkor. Now, I've never been to Cambodia before, but I definitely see a lot of people talking about Angkor. So I am thinking this is probably the hair hub of Cambodia. Cambodia is not that big. And also, when it comes to the GDP out of all the Southeast Asian countries, it is very low. So it's kind of one of those up and coming places where people do source hair, but it's not a huge hub. However, I've seen people's videos. All right. I'm writing that down for myself. So you see, I'm always learning. Um, Never been to Cambodia, but, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to go there. If I did visit Cambodia, I would treat it like other Southeast Asian countries. I would do my research. I would reach out to friends who have already been there, reach out to manufacturers and um, ask them, you know, what area they are in specifically. You know, maybe there is a main hub to fly into, but they're nowhere close to that. And so you want to kind of map out, oh, it's going to take this long to get to your factory. Is there a lot of traffic? And then I know that on that side of the world, in terms of just Asia in general, there are different taxi services that are kind of like what you would experience here with Uber. Uber is in China, so Uber might be in Cambodia, maybe, I'm not sure. But if not, they will have other types of ride shares available. So, go to YouTube, look up videos of people who have been to these countries and vlogged, put in the actual city, see what to expect. That's just kind of like an easy way when you're going anywhere. Just look through someone else's experience just to kind of get a heads up of what you can expect. So that's how I would treat it. Never been to Angkor. If I were still in Asia right now, I probably would have made my way there. I heard about some really nice beaches in southern Cambodia from some of my friends. We're always traveling around Asia, sharing stories like go here, go there. But that's how I would treat it. All right, moving on to Malaysia. Malaysia. So, just a little tidbit. When I was in the Philippines and asking the Filipino people about the ethnicity, who are the original Filipino people because they were conquered by the Spanish, the young gentleman told me that all of the people from Thailand to Vietnam to Malaysia, Indonesia, they were all kind of Malaysian people. Of course, you move about different local languages, but for the most part, he said they were all very similar. So I thought that that was pretty interesting. So that made me think, like, okay, trying to think about what I had learned so far in the hair industry. If I go to maybe Vietnam or Cambodia, the hair might be very similar to Malaysia. And so when he told me that, the culture is definitely very similar, I thought, okay, um, let me get to the hubs first. And then when I have time, let me visit these other places. Malaysian hair is not really marketed and branded as Malaysian hair, but most definitely it is being sourced and sold. So I say that because it's just the truth. When you go to visit the factories, I always ask, where do you get your hair from? Some people will say China, some people will say Korea, some people will say India, Vietnam. Because what the Chinese people have done is they go into these countries and build their factories, other factories. This can be the sourcing factories to get the raw materials before it's shipped back to China. And sometimes it doesn't even go back to China because, shipping might cost too much. So let's just really set up a full factory so that, hi, thank you guys for joining me. Let's set up a full factory so that we can produce the hair right here. So they're definitely sourcing from Malaysia, but Malaysia is not a name brands type of hair that is used commonly. So with that being said, Malaysia is a great place to source. I have never been to Malaysia before. Actually, I did have a layover in Kuala Lumpur, but I have not visited hair factories in Malaysia. So if you visit any factories there before me, let me know. So we'll definitely be updating you guys about the hair hubs in Malaysia. Just know that you may not hear someone say Malaysian hair, but it's definitely being sourced. And those are from my sources. And then there is Burma. I know you guys have heard of Burmese hair. Burmese hair is very popular. Backtrack. I'm looking on the map, and I see that there are some hair factories in. There is a Kedah, a Penang, and Taiping. in Malaysia. That's very interesting. Okay. So, Kedah, Penang, and Taiping. So check those places out. Maybe you can do a Google search and see. But once you're researching these places, try to get in touch with someone who knows what they're talking about. At the factory, you can get it going. Of course, everyone's kind of at home right now, quarantining. So right now would be a really great time to map it out. Okay, so moving back to Burma, this is our last location that we're going to talk about today, friends. So, a little bit about Burma. Burma is actually Myanmar. Myanmar is the original name before it got colonized and called Burma. And I actually have done thorough research on hair factories in Burma. One place you can go to is Yangon. Let's see if I can zoom in on here. Spell the name. It's like southern Myanmar. Yangon. Let's see if I can find it. But anyway, Burma's got the curls for the girls, okay? Really, really nice, wet and wavy, soft, lush. You comb through it, it'll work with you. Type hair is coming from Burma. And also from India too. But Burma's really popular for its curly hair. So the hair hub again is Yangon, and reach out to these people. These people are on WhatsApp. You know, you can do a cold research, Google research, and you can find them on WhatsApp. You can find them online and just get to know them, get a feel, see what's up before you visit these places. I definitely assist with that because, you know, I was traveling a lot, especially throughout Southeast Asia. So I was gaining contacts for different people in different industries. And what you'll notice now in the next few years, China, the biggest producer in the world, will be moving closer to being a service country, service industry. So they have outsourced a lot of production to these Southeast Asian countries. So these countries will be on the rise. Um, for instance, a lot of clothes are made in Vietnam and the Philippines, Cambodia for like super, super, super affordable prices. I've seen that shift from China to these other Southeast Asian places. So moving forward in the future, these will be the places that will be producing a lot more. So if you guys have any questions on these hair hubs, please feel free. If you visited any of them before, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys experienced. And as always, you can find out more information on our vlog. This video is going up on our YouTube and it's also on our Facebook. Hit us up, www.hairbyconnie.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next Tuesday with natural hair tips and again next Thursday with our business talks. Okay, you guys stay cool. Bye.